conflict, that she's got other things going. That's her real job, so they probably should give that some consideration. Fran would like to do a real quick update, and then after that, we're going to have Darren Reading from State Patrol give us an update on a radiological incident, so that he can not have to sit through the whole meeting as well. So, Fran, take it over.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your flexibility with moving the schedule around a little bit today. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Fran Santagata. I work for CISA within DHS in the Chemical Facility Anti-Terrorism Standards Program. And so my updates today, the first big one is Operation Flashpoint. I've been talking about this voluntary program for a couple of meetings now, and it has really taken off full force with our chemical security inspectors. Operation Flashpoint is a voluntary program where our chemical security inspectors are working with the FBI and the Office for Bombing Prevention within CISA to educate retail establishments that sell chemicals that can be used in bomb making. And so think of the types of retail establishments like Lowe's and Home Depots, pool supply stores, which are going to be a big hit for the summer, and beauty supply stores. For those of you who remember back in 2009, the Zazie case, where that man went in to purchase hydrogen peroxide and acetone at a beauty supply store. And the reason why he was finally apprehended by the FBI is because of an astute store owner who recognized this man's behavior was unusual, and that it was unusual for anybody to be purchasing that kind of material at a beauty supply store in the quantities that he was asking. And so that was the seed that was planted to create a bigger program to educate more store owners that might be selling these kinds of materials. So we started last month, Great Guns, and CSIs, they're first hitting a lot of the beauty supply wholesalers that do sell bulk quantities of acetone peroxide, and they've been so well received. Oftentimes, this is the first time these types of retail establishments have been talked to about how their chemicals could be used in a nefarious way. So it's been very, very welcoming. Next month, they're really going to start hitting hard the pool suppliers, right? Because obviously with chlorine and other oxidizing agents that can be used to build bombs, and they'll be, all fully open. Oftentimes, those are seasonal supplies that people purchase. So that is what is on the agenda for the summer. Next item I wanted to mention is I was so happy that I was asked to present at the TLO conference this year. So we did a big overview on CFATs and the current risks, and was so well received. You just don't know now that we're finally getting back to conferences and in-person engagements again. But the room was full, and people asked lots of questions, which I really, really appreciated. So that was a big win for our program. And then lastly, just wanted to reiterate the current threats. And again, it is largely cyber. It hasn't stopped. Ransomware, again, they're still targeting a lot of, that was Dave Autry in my background here. Sorry about that little commentary. But so ransomware is still the big one. And they are still going after chemical facilities and many other critical infrastructure facilities as low-hanging fruit. So I honestly don't see this going away because it's an easy payday for these folks. The other big one that's been attacked is managed service providers. So this is not managed care providers, managed service providers. So these are service providers that provide IT services. So it's kind of giving people the keys to the castle. If they can get in through a managed service provider, they can get into a variety of areas within your networks. So that's something that's high on everybody's radar. Big for first responders is the attacks on Satcom systems. So here in Colorado, this is particularly concerning because Satcom systems are used oftentimes when we have disasters in our mountainous areas where cellular coverage is not the best. So an important thing to pay attention to. And then lastly, obviously, we always want to provide mitigation mitigation information on how to stand down against this. And so, as I've been talking about, our Shields Up website continues to be up to date with all the current resources, all the current threats, and all the mitigation measures that anyone needs to take in order to combat these attacks that are ongoing. And with that, I'll just remind everybody, this will be my last LEPC meeting for Adams County. I retire on June 30th, and it has been an absolute pleasure working with everybody here. And with that, I'll turn it back over to our hosts.
Do you know how many times I've heard you say you were going to retire? Do you know how many times I've seen you come back?
I know.
You love us. You'll be back. You'll be back. You'll be back. Thank you, Fran. I appreciate it. Is anybody out there in the group?
For your flexibility. Anybody have any questions before I jump off?
Congratulations, Fran.
Yes,
Thank you.
Fran.
I'm up here at the State Patrol Academy, Darren.
Oh, okay.
So I hear there's a laundry list of you guys that are leaving too.
yeah, I got I'm a year behind you. Yeah. So.
Oh, awesome.
All right. Well, Fran, stay in touch. Let us know if you need anything. Okay.
Thank you. Bye, you guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Hearing no questions for Fran, not seeing anything in the chat. I'm going to move to Darren. Darren, I'll let you do your own introduction, which is kind of rude, but I'll let you do it.
Oh, that's all right, Glenn. Yeah, no problem. Darren Reeder, I'm a trooper with the State Patrol's Hazardous Materials section out of Castle Rock, which is just basically an office to keep us out of the rain. Our area is pretty big. I've been on, I guess, 23 years now, so kind of winding down. But I understand you all are a little bit interested in this soil density equipment that was lost on Interstate 25. To go in that a little bit, we were a 3-person team. It was on last month on the 27th. We were actually up in Broomfield dealing with about 2,000 pounds of dope that our canine guys got off of I-70. So I'm sure that'll just be a petty offense or whatever the case is. But we were got dispatched down to this is about the 172, between 172 and 174 on I-25 southbound for this there's a radioactive incident. Sorry about my camera here. I don't know what's going on with that. We responded. Castle Rock Fire Department and Larkspur Fire Department were obviously way ahead of us. Castle Rock Fire arrived on scene as we were en route and did a great job on locating obviously the package that was destroyed and isolating the source that had escaped from the package, which ultimately was cesium-137. I'm going to try to share this screen with you if I can. Just give me a minute. This thing's, I think, running slower than I am. And I don't know if you see that yet, if it's come up. I'm trying to, seems it's still processing here, so give it just a moment. You see my little circle of death. Good Lord, come on now. So anyway, what's going to come up here is the asphalt. There's a crack in the asphalt in the number 1 lane, so the fast lane of 25, that this cesium-137 that escaped from the soil density monitor made its way into. And it's literally, I have no idea what's going on here. I'm sorry. This isotope about the size is in a capsule about the size of a Tic Tac. Castle Rock Fire, using their PRDs, their personal radiation detectors, were able to do a survey of the area. They located the source in this crack, so good job on their part. And they marked it for us, placed a cone, and ultimately we were able to determine that the other source, which was americium, I can't remember the number on it. So we had cesium-137. The other source was americium. Those are the 2 primary sources used in industrial isotopes for construction work, particularly. That source, the americium, was still in the partial remnants of the come on, smack it around. Partial remnants of the soil detection overpack. We got on scene, got with the fire department again, did one more survey in the area to make sure we had shut down Interstate 25 at Toma Road, just a localized area there. There was talks about shutting down the entire interstate, which was not necessary. Once we got a reading on this source, at the source, we were at 4.4 millirem, and that's at the source. Obviously, it's not something you want to hang around. It's higher than anything I've done in real world, but an X-ray is basically a millirem higher than the source. So we ultimately, we called the Colorado Department of Public Health. They responded with an overpack, a lead shielded overpack container that we placed this lead source into. Or I'm sorry, this radioactive isotope into, and then the soil density gauge that was destroyed on the side of the road. If this doesn't come up, the overpack in this soil density gauge is like a, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a small, very reinforced metal briefcase, kind of. And obviously, they use that radiation. They have a probe that goes into the soil or whatever it is they want to measure, and they use those isotopes to shoot down, bounce that back off, and get a good depth. So half of that was destroyed, and it had fallen out of the back of a pickup truck. And the guy was moving it from one area to another to measure, do some measurements. He didn't secure his tailgate all the way. It came out of the back of the truck, bounced down the interstate, and must have gotten hit by numerous vehicles. To crack it the way it did, and it wasn't cracked, it was just split in half pretty much. The americium was still on the site, so I had said we had taken this cesium-137 that was on the roadway, placed it in one of the Colorado Department of Public Health shielded overpack containers, and then we took a 5-gallon bucket of floor dry we had, placed the cracked container with that still contained the americium, which was only it was microrem an hour. I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say about 620 microrem an hour, something small, emitting from that container. So we placed that container in the 5-gallon empty oil dry bucket, then put actual oil dry on top of it for some additional shielding. Colorado Department of Public Health did arrive on scene, and they were able to use their RID, their isotope identifier, to tell us that the capsule that was actually expelled from the container was the actual cesium-137 isotope, and that the americium was still in the container. So once we got all that together, and honestly, with the readings we had to get that out of the crack, I put a glove on, went over there and picked it up and threw it in the overpack, the shielded overpack container. Once we had that taken care of, the health department, they did their thing. They met with the company, the construction company that owned the soil density monitor, and they go through the various federal procedures and things like that in order to properly dispose of this. Ultimately, we gave them back both the soil density equipment and this loose capsule of cesium-137, and they're required to properly dispose of it and report back to the health department with how they did that. So they're still waiting on that report, and then from there they take over if there's going to be a initiation of a transport violation or anything of that nature. So in a nutshell, that's basically the response and how it was handled. Obviously, there's questions. Feel free to ask me.
So Darren, who was the original RP? Was it just a motorist, or did the guy driving the truck realize that he lost it?
Apparently, it's the guy driving the truck. He, that poor guy was pretty much beside himself once this happened. The company and the driver were the ones that reported it, and that because they were obviously, they went and checked on it and realized, okay, there's a source here and it's gone. So they knew it was out and about somewhere. We were hoping, in a worst case scenario, it didn't get caught in somebody's tread of their tires, and was ended up in the spring somewhere.
So then the fire department actually closed down the highway initially?
Yes. Initially, they closed it down. When they started doing their monitoring, between that possibility of it being gone, they went ahead and localized and the small readings they were getting that wasn't going into northbound traffic or any. It was pretty localized on the readings they were getting. They just closed that area off by Toma Road, which was a great decision, because in the ERG, the initial cordon area would have closed down the entire interstate for something that, when we did our inverse square from the source, we took our inverse square and doubled our distance. Now we're in micro rem. So fire department did just an outstanding job.
Yeah, that's one of the problems of the ERG is it's in some ways so very conservative that,
yes.
That it's a good approach to take, but people have to understand that it's an ultra conservative document that as soon as people get on scene with instrumentation, a lot of that stuff can change very quickly.
And they just did a bang up job. I mean, we had our own guys on the patrol screaming, probably need to shut the entire interstate down. And so knowing that this is a small source and what this equipment is, taking in account that inverse square rule, and they're not getting any ready. They just fire department did a bang up job. So
good for them.
Yeah, that was really.
The only other thing that came to my mind was I was surprised that CDPHE. I understand that the generator, the owner of the instrument,
right,
is responsible for the disposable. I'm surprised CDPHE gave it back to them, in effect losing custody of it, because now, if it were to disappear, there's who knows.
Yeah, no, honestly, I was too. I was very surprised.
I would have thought that the CDPHE would have wanted to have their disposal plan and their disposal paperwork and everything else in hand, and then had somebody come and pick it up from them.
Right, cradle to grave kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that as well.
Because all they're going to do is put it in a little lead pig and put it in a safe place.
It's going to be stored somewhere. Yeah, it's just going to be sitting somewhere.
Yeah.
That cat litter we put that one source. That's where it'll be for probably till I'm dead. But who knows? I agree with you. I was surprised that's how they remediated that.
And you still have all your fingers and thumbs from where you picked it up, so you're good.
Yeah, good to go. Yeah, good to go. So.
And now you have one of those little tool grabber things instead in your toolbox.
Well, the thing is, we couldn't get anything in that crack. We took a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, to pop it, kind of nudge it out of the crack, and then instead of screwing around with staying in the vicinity of it, made the decision. It took a second to throw it in that overpack and then back away. Versus I was figure out But
I was worst case scenario in it, and having you guys out there with a bobcat with a jackhammer on it, having to
right?
Dig up the asphalt to pull this little pea-sized thing out of the ground someplace.
Exactly. So it's an interesting. I've never had this before and never thought I would. Honestly, I guess it happens quite a bit in Adams County, with the construction they have going on up there. But so I got our first one under the belt. So it was uneventful, but it was a good learning experience.
Good deal.
The best ones, uneventful learning experiences.
Any questions from the group? Anybody? All right, Darren, I appreciate it very much. If anybody has any questions, I'll have them send it to Dean, and he can
forward it.
Email. Yeah. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. We always love the updates because it gives you something to think about.
I got a question. This is Jim with Tri-County Health. Darren, so who did you contact for that overpack container at CDPHE?
Hold on just a second. Let me pull that up since my thing of death here is still spinning. It was Mr. Raymond Lee.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm assuming he's in their rad section?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, in case we ever have to deal with that type of situation, that would be good to know a contact there. Thank
No,
you.
it's great. I mean, they were, yeah, it was great, really helpful. We're great at the response part of things and the mitigation, the remediation of a radionuclide. Everything we do is basically a cleanup contractor from that point.
Yeah.
And we know how to follow up with the other ones, but never had to follow up with a radiological isotope. So yeah, CDPHE, yeah, it was, yeah, definitely that they're our first call. I realize when we get one of these things.
Yeah.
So
good. Thank
The
you.
other place you guys can go, just so you know, is most of the hospitals that have any kind of radiological medicine department have those little lead pigs. They're only like 2 inches in diameter and maybe 3 or 4 inches tall.
Nice.
So you can get something the size of a test tube inside of it, maybe. That's what they're used for, is for the radiological medicine. But what they do is they ship them in that, and then when they use the radiological component of it, they keep the pigs and they ship them back empty. So usually speaking, the hospital not the emergency department, the radiological department will have 1 or 2 of those things in storage that's empty that you could potentially borrow for a time being if you're waiting for somebody.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, no, that would be great because.
And again, it's only going to take something the size of, a couple of marbles, but what you're talking about.
That's fine. I mean, this, like I said, wasn't even the size of a Tic Tac, and we were debating on what we were going to do because our pig is over in Golden at the academy, and then fortunately CDPHE was responding anyway, and they had one. But we were thinking, how do we get this out of here fast? That would have been great. We'd have gone over to Castle Rock and Bend and see if they had something for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been. Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. You all have a good one. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right. Now getting back onto the agenda. The meeting minutes for the March meeting went out. If everybody on the board got a chance to look at those, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
No, I'm looking for a motion first.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Who was
Sorry.
that?
Theo.
Theo. Okay. Second.
I'll second. This is Katie.
Katie. This is such a weird thing to do, but anybody opposed, if you would say something or put something in the chat. Not hearing anything, not seeing anything, we will say that the minutes have been approved. Dean?
So noted.
Okay. Legislative regulatory updates. Do you have anything that's, I know there was some stuff that Tim Gablehouse sent out on some public hearings on a couple of EPA regulations and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have them right in front of me. I am not aware of anything that the state is doing. Katie, is there anything that county's up to or state's doing that you're aware of?
Not really that the county's doing. We don't have any regulation amendments or anything coming up in the near future.
Okay. Does anybody else in the group have any legislative or regulatory updates they want to talk about? Hearing none. All right, partner updates. Adams County.
I guess I can go first. This is Katie Keefe, Environmental Program Manager with Adams County. We don't at this time have anything really related to emergency planning from environmental programs or the county side. However, I know that there's other county staff joining that might have something else to share.
I don't have anything, Glenn.
Okay, I was wrong. I'm not aware of anything that's in the works. And then we're going to talk about the bylaws here as a different bullet item. So, local agency response and organizations. I don't know of anything. The hazmat team's taken a couple small calls, but none of them in Adams County that I'm aware of. There was a mercury call in Jeffco, and there was a something else minor incidental in Jefferson County as well that the hazmat team responded to. Anything the sheriff's office has been on, Chris? Theo, anything fire departments have been on that you're aware of?
Nothing on my end.
Okay. I don't see, Dean, I don't think you know of anything, do you, that's going on other than what your regular report is going to be? All right. Anybody from the EPA? Federal updates? Local chemical facilities. Any of our facility representatives out there have anything going on? I know Suncor's had a couple of fires and doing some stuff, and I don't know whether just having the initials across the bottom of the page, I'm not really sure who's here. Is there anybody that wants to talk about their facility?
So this is Ada with what was Sinclair Pipeline and now HEP. We are going to be launching a smart pig, an ILI run on the DuPont line this Thursday. It's a short line. It's only about 3 miles, but it's slow, so it'll take several hours, but that's happening this Thursday.
So is that just a test, or is that what you want to just explain to them what sending a pig through the line means?
Okay, so this is not just a regular pig that we do every month or whenever, but this is the smart pig that it's got the it's made up of computers, and we do that every 5 years on every line. It rotates so that we can get actual readings on any growth in pits, or they can detect any anomalies and measure it, and we can monitor growth of anything. So that's it. The 5 years has come around for this line, and that's going to happen on Thursday.
Good deal. Thank you. It just occurred to me we had two kinds of pigs in the
Yeah. The ones, we just cleaning pigs that we do like monthly. Well, on the product lines, they don't have to be quite that often, but anyway, yeah, we run those regularly. They clean, and we can see if there's problems that, just for like that. But yeah, the smart pigs can really get a lot of data.
All right. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Currently, soon to be no longer Tri-County Health Department.
Not really much of an update this time. It's been pretty quiet on the spill front, so I'm enjoying that for a change. But no, nothing really to update. Thank you.
Any update on the status of Adams County Health Department versus Tri-County Health Department that you want to discuss?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it'd be good if Kelly Weidenbach would answer that. She's the transition manager. But we've received some communication. It's mainly about Adams County wanting to bring as many Tri-County employees over as possible. That's the main thing we've been communicating with. And they're also working on their organization chart as well. And I've been told several times that their intention is to duplicate all of the services that Tri-County currently provides. They want to duplicate that in Adams County. So I personally think that's a really good thing because I assumed that services would decline as the new health department was established, but apparently at least the goal and the intention is that they will duplicate everything that we currently do. So, of course, that'll be dependent on initially like January 2nd. It'll probably be dependent on how many folks they can bring in and what their experience level is, but at least they want to fill those positions at some point in time and provide those services.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for. Is I anticipate a seamless transition with the continuity of service being excellent. I mean, I don't know why it would be anything other than that. So
Yeah, it's just going to depend on who they can recruit and bring over. There's a lot of programs that are pretty specialized, and if they lose the people who are doing those jobs right now, it's going to be a pretty big step in terms of getting new people brought up to speed. So I think that's really the danger of the situation is how successful will they be in courting Tri-County folks. If they could bring all the Tri-County folks over to fill all the positions and, then it would be real seamless, I would think. But, other than that, it could be, I think what'll happen is that it'll be seamless in some ways, in some programs, and other programs, it'll be a pretty rough start if they have to hire new and start training, and especially if they don't have anybody to do the proper training for that particular position. So it'll probably be piecemeal is what I would suspect. But yeah.
There,
Glenn.
there is an Adams County Health Department webpage where they're going to be updating as things occur. Kelly Weidenbach will be providing that information via the webpage. So I'll add the link to the chat. The county did hire an environmental health division director, Brian Hlavacek, who's currently the EH director currently for Tri-County, will be working for Adams County Health Department. In the interim, he's going to be kind of, so that they aren't left without staffing, he'll be kind of working for Adams County part-time and working for Tri-County still full-time, and kind of helping Kelly figure out the organizational structure. And a lot of, like Jeff, a lot of the positions within environmental health deal with, solid hazardous waste, flammable gas, things like that, that the commissioners have expressed a desire to maintain in the new health department.
Thanks, Katie. I hadn't even heard about Brian Hlavacek taking that position. That's news to me.
Well, don't share it too much. I think
Well,
it's public. It just happened last week. So
okay.
until Brian has the chance to probably send
Yeah.
out an announcement to staff, just probably keep that on the down low for now.
Absolutely. Thank you.
that's reassuring because Brian is one of my board of directors on the Hazmat Authority as well. So that'll be a good connection. Ron, you had a question.
Yeah, I think most of it was covered by Katie. But I'm on the steering committee for the public health, new public health department, and meet with Kelly pretty much weekly to discuss what we're doing. And as Katie said, we just hired Brian, and so he's kind of working a hybrid position right now. But we are trying to recruit and hire a lot of people from Tri-County Health Department to maintain the service areas when we do open in January. I know Kelly is going to the board again. She might have gone this week, if not next week, to get approval for additional hires. So that process is ongoing, and they're looking at building up that organizational structure. The other things that are going on as well, things like where will the actual buildings be and where will they be located, and the infrastructure, getting all that in place, internet and capabilities and equipment and funding sources, all that is being done now. And Kelly and our group is working on that as well. So it's moving forward. There's a lot of moving pieces, but right now we plan on it being operational on Jan 1. So cross our fingers.
Fantastic, thank you. I don't know that the LEPC can do anything to help you, but certainly let us know if there's something you want from us. State of Colorado, any other state representatives out there?
And Glenn, I'll jump in because in that partner update, I left room for Dan Frazen from the Colorado Preparedness and Response Network. And Dan, if you're ready, I know that there's a well control training coming up, and you might have some other announcements.
Yeah, thanks. Dan Frazen, I just took over for Sean Clark about a month ago. running the CPRN, which is the oil and gas industry, first responders, and emergency management all planning and preparing and training together. Yeah, we one of our biggest projects right now is updating the Firefoam resource list, and that pertains to fire agencies, some of the industry folks as well in both Weld, Adams, and Arapahoe County. So I'm working on that. I'll have that out here pretty soon. If you want to be on the list, we're gonna publish that, so it's gonna be public facing on my webpage, and then we're gonna ask some of the emergency management offices to put a link to that, so incident commanders that are working something that needs foam can look at it pretty quick, and they don't have to go through a dispatch or an EM. And with all the FOS issues, we want to. It's ever changing, I guess we should say. That list keeps changing daily, so we'll try to keep the most updated list on our webpage. And then, yes, as he mentioned, the Wild Well Control incident management class is coming up June 27th. It'll be at the Weld County Office of Emergency Management up in Greeley. It's the 6-hour level 2 course that they do. It's really for fire, hazmat, and oil and gas industry folks that could assume an incident command role, but it has a lot of good stuff on hazmat and just their strategy, how Wild Well Control fights these fires when the wells pop and they get out of control. And then the other thing that we're almost finalizing, we've been in negotiations, is we want to bring back the Energy Critical Infrastructure Protection meetings. I think they used to be called the Rocky Mountain Business Crime Committee, but it's essentially law enforcement and security professionals from the oil and gas industry just talking about the issues that are out with the oil and gas sites. We have the support of Weld County Sheriff's Office, Adams County Sheriff's Office, some of the smaller PDs, the kayak at the state, and I think we need to reach out to InfraGard and the CISA folks as well. But I'll be putting out some invites, and I'll ask Dean to kind of forward those out as well. And then I'm here. Any questions about oil and gas, hazmat, fire, all kind of working together, the prep side.
Dan, I just get a real quick question. On the PFAS foams, is there any progress being made on disposal of those?
So the state has their buyback program, and that's what all the fire departments are currently either buying or selling back. And then I know the airports are waiting on an FAA ruling, because we do rely on some of the ARF folks at the airports that have foam. They're waiting on a ruling from the FAA on where they want to go with the PFAS stuff as well. So kind of just all in limbo right now, to be quite honest.
So the fire departments then, Theo, you may already know this, you might be able to address something, but the fire department should be contacting whom?
I believe it is CDPHE.
Okay. I know they used some of the PFAS AFFF at Rocky Mountain Gateway Airport the other day. They had a plane crash that went off the runway and caught on fire. Unfortunately, it was a fatality, but they said they used a bunch of the foam, the old foam, and now they're dealing with that because it went into a holding pond. So,
thanks.
Yay. All right.
Glenn, it's Mark.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you, the contact at CDPHE is David Danny, who's handling the buyback. And we just completed, we got our money from the state. They're currently, I'm sharing with everyone common knowledge, I think, they're paying $40 a gallon for all the PFAS foam that is currently out of service and in storage. And there still is no approved disposal method. So we're stuck storing it until an approved storage method has come about and the state can come by and pick them up.
So Mark, is that pretty widely known throughout the fire service?
I don't know. Try and pass on the information as we can, but I couldn't answer that question, Glenn. Maybe we could get it out through the hazmat team at some point. I can
Yeah,
pass.
I don't know that anybody is asking as such anymore, so it seems to be, but I don't know about the smaller agencies. My guess is they're gonna come up $1 late and $1 short, you know, a day late and $1 short is usually what happens. It's like, oh, I wish somebody would have told us about that, so.
Well, no, the state right now says they are not short of money, because they're collecting the tax on all fuel trucks going through the state, and sounds like they're building quite a surplus. Now, they'll have to use a lot of that when it comes time for disposal.
Right.
But yeah, I know you have to submit your inventory to the state. You actually get certified as a storage site, and then they'll pay you for what you have stored. And then, as I say, they'll come collect it once they get an approved disposal method.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, if you hear of anything, certainly your connections in the North area, and if they have a flyer or anything like that, then we can certainly get that posted on our website. But I think the fire service probably has a pretty tight community. I just don't know how well the information is going out to the small agencies. So.
Yeah, I'll get with you, Glenn, and I'll see what they have posted.
Perfect, thank you. All right, anything else? Do we have any representatives of neighboring LEPCs, Aurora or Denver or anybody like that? Not hearing any. I will just mention that the LEPC conference this year is to be in person. Dean, do you know the dates on it? It's September, I think, isn't it? Again?
Don't have that in front of me, Glenn. I'm sorry, I don't remember the dates.
Okay, I was looking for it and I don't remember it either. We'll get that posted out there. So for LEPC members, the LEPC conference traditionally is held in Breckenridge in September, and they bring in LEPC representatives from across the state, or I should say from throughout the state. It's generally speaking a very good conference. We are initially allowed to have 2 people from our LEPC paid by the state to attend the conference. The reality of it is, by the time the conference gets here, because our LEPC is so big and so active, I generally pimp them for a couple of more. So we usually have 4 or 5 people who are allowed to go to the LEPC conference. I know, Katie, you wanted to go last year and couldn't. Dean, you wanted to go last year before, or something like that, and were unable to due to conflicts. Certainly, if you are interested in going to the LEPC conference, let me know. And it's really up to the board to decide who's going to be representative, and then I have to send that off to the state when the official announcement comes out. So we've got a few months to work on it, but start thinking about it if you're interested in going to the LEPC conference in Breckenridge in September. It's generally a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think, something like that. Wednesday half day, and then they pay for lodging, pay for meals, pay for everything else up there, and it's a good conference. It's very, very well worthwhile, I think. We did the presentation on the radiation incident. Spill reporting for the county. Dean, that's you.
Does everybody see the screen there? Oh, now everybody's muted.
We can see your desktop.
Your screen.
Yeah.
Okay, just the desktop, not the report.
There's the report. There's the report coming up.
All right, that's better than my desktop. Here's basically the spill report. Let me see if I can move this out of the way. I don't know if it's in your view. So basically, we had roughly 14 of those spill reports that came through. I will read them briefly, but I don't want to drive anyone crazy. If anyone needs a copy of what I presented here, I'm glad to provide that. So back at the end of March, so this is since our last spill report, since our last LEPC meeting. And so on the 29th of March, 75 to 100 gallons of diesel was spilled. at a satellite dispenser. Basically, it overflowed into a storm drain. They stopped the release before it really got anywhere. So that was the report on that. If anybody has any other details, please jump in. On the 17th and 23rd, Commerce City over at Suncor, they did have a release of sulfur dioxide, and that was 1.47 tons of SO2 came out of their main flare. And basically, whenever they have a power outage or some other sort of hiccup in the process, that often results in kind of an upset that releases some of that SO2. And so there's more details on their website about SO2 and its effects and so forth. And then on the 31st of March, at a treatment facility, water treatment facility, there was a backup of sewage. It looks like they lost less than a gallon. So, but congrats to them for diligently reporting that they had a spill. Doesn't sound like anything major. There was a Wendy's that had a backup of 50 to 75 gallons of sewage, went down into a storm drain, and I believe that was cleaned and cleared as well, and then they applied disinfectant. On the 1st, Thornton had a backup of 500 gallons of sewage, and that did hit a storm drain that leads to Niagara Creek, and the plumbing crew came out and cleared that as well. Then on the 5th of April, the reclaimed water facility had some sort of a problem that led to 105,000 gallons of reclaimed water released to the ground, and then that went to a neighbor's pond. They did shut off the line and stop the leak. No further information came from that. Diesel spill again on the 7th of April on Washington Street. Truck driver overfilled his tank at the gas station and spilled it onto the concrete pad there. And Thornton Fire responded to clean that up. Diesel also spilled in Aurora on the 8th. And apparently the shutoffs on their fuel pumps weren't working. And so they overfilled their tanks and, somewhere around 21 gallons for the first person, and somebody else lost a smaller amount when their pump didn't shut off. On number 9 there, you see on the 11th, this one was called in. I took a look at it, and we got Sheriff's Department on that to initiate the cleanup. Somebody dumped off a drum, and either when they dumped it off or sometime later, it got knocked over. Some of it looked like it was possibly a leftover oil from like a gas station or something like that, and that did spill on the ground, and the cleanup was initiated with a contractor. So last I heard, that was taken care of as well. On the 14th of April, there was a potable water spill. Basically, a line broke, released a fair amount of water to the ground, and then that got everything kind of muddy and went into the Barronmore ditch. And I don't have any other information on that as well. Another reclaimed water spill in Westminster on the 5th of May. And basically it went on to the ground where they used the reclaimed water. So it wasn't a major concern at that point. There was a hydraulic tank in Henderson on the 6th of May that basically released 30 gallons of hydraulic oil onto the ground. That was cleaned up, and at the time, they also noticed that they had been tossing out their oil filters just into a dumpster, and they were educated on proper disposal of that. Then on the 6th of May, Commerce City, at the Suncor refinery, there was another release of sulfur dioxide. Basically, about half a ton of SO2 was released at that time. And by the way, I did get a call from them yesterday. I don't have the full report on the amounts and so forth, but apparently there was another release yesterday. And then the last one I had is in Thornton, sewer blockage and backup occurred at a Wendy's. And once the plumber cleaned up, our Jeff McCarran sounds like he was on scene there. And once it was cleaned up, it was okay to reopen the store. Jeff, if you have anything to add on that.
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't know what their problem is, but they're having a recurring issue there. You notice they had the 2 spills in the same reporting period at the same exact location. So what happens is they have this really long sewer line that goes north from the store across the parking lot in front of that academy. I forget the name of it, but there's that school right there. And there's a clean out that the sewage emerges from. So they need to do some, I don't know, they probably might have to replace that line at some point in time, but it's starting to fail on a regular basis now. But I just want to say hats off to the Thornton Utilities folks. Those guys are incredible. And they do a really, really great job of coming in and responding. And they make my life really simple. I respond, but I don't even have to tell them anything. They know exactly what to do. And they bring a vac truck out and they disinfect and suck up all the sewage at the same time and just do a really good job. So Billy Burke and Justin Richardson are just awesome. Great guys.
Hey, Jeff, I had a question on the potable water spill. Why is that reportable?
I don't have any idea. I've never even heard of that before. It's not something that we've ever respond to. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know why they report that.
Just struck me as odd that it's like
I wish I could answer that.
we spilled precious environmental resource on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a source of any. It may not be potable, but it's not. That doesn't mean it's polluted.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would report that. I wouldn't.
Dean, do you know why that was reported that way?
I don't. They don't usually put anything else in there when they send it to us in terms of why that was. I could follow up with the reporting. Those all do come from CDPHE, so I could kind of shoot back to them and say, why did they report it? I think sometimes it's out of an abundance of caution, like, hey, we spilled something. I know we're supposed to report if there's a spill. So I understand the reclaimed water, but not so much the potable. But I don't think reclaimed water has anything really super scary in it either. But I'll defer to
the only thing I can think of, and this is speculation on my part, is that if they spilled it and it became, muddy water flowing someplace onto somebody else's property, they felt the need to report it just in case.
Right, and that one was that where a lot of that water came out, and then it basically piled a whole bunch of silt and mud into the area. So that makes more sense. But
it just struck me as being odd. I'd never seen that one before. All right, any questions of Dean? July 1st reporting date. Dean, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's just a quick reminder that July 4th, I apologize, July 1st is the deadline for TRI, toxic release inventory reporting federally. So just wanted to put that out there.
And that is still online electronic reporting required, right?
Yes, as far as I know, that is correct.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments on that? All right, Katie, I'm going to reach out to you because our next bullet point is the Bylaws Committee, and I know we worked on that. I think I'm satisfied with what we've come up with as far as the product, but I'll let you talk about it where we're at in the county process.
Sure. So the subcommittee met and kind of finalized the red lines. And the red line version was distributed to the executive board ahead of this meeting to review and provide any comments on. We only received one comment about a possible grammatical correction. There were no other issues or comments received regarding the red lines. And the red lines really were just kind of specifying existing or current responsibilities and roles of the LEPC and kind of just bringing it more into alignment with the state emergency commission. And I think that's about it, Glenn. I think the next steps, according to the bylaws, is for the executive board to vote whether to on approval of those recommended changes and edits. And then I think our next step that we agreed upon was then passing it along to the county attorney's office, just to kind of go over and make sure that everything is in line with the resolution that was presented and adopted by the Board of County Commissioners.
So what we've done for the people who are not on the board and are not involved in this, but what we've done is we've gone through the bylaws, and under EPCRA, under the federal guidance from the late 80s, early 90s, the LEPCs were required to do a lot of emergency planning, plans reviews, things like that. And we just simply don't do that. So a lot of the EPCRA requirements are handled by the state through the CERC and through CDPHE. So it really takes the onus off of the local emergency planning committee. So what we did is we took it out of the bylaws. It said that, you know, we took it out of the bylaws. It said we're going to do things that we actually don't do. So I think what we did was clean them up, made it a little bit more reflective. There's not a whole lot of substantive changes, but cleaned it up, made it more reflective of what the Adams County LEPC does. And then I would certainly say if you're interested in seeing what the changes are and you're not on the board, then contact Dean and he will give you a red line copy of that. I realize it's kind of one of those things that is primarily a board issue. So I think without, unless anybody's got some objections, I would entertain a motion from board member to adopt the changes to the bylaws as presented, including the one grammatical correction. And of course, it would be contingent upon approval by the county attorney's office ultimately, but I would entertain a motion to adopt the bylaws as corrected or amended from a board member.
This is Chris Laws. So moved.
A second?
I'll second. This is Ron.
Okay. Do we need to do individual voice approval, or do you just want to do it the way we've done before, which is kind of anybody opposed or objecting, speak up, put your hand up, do whatever? Ron, I'll let you decide. Do we want to do an individual count?
I don't think we need to. I think if you just anybody opposed, they can speak up.
Anybody opposed, please raise your hand or speak up. Anybody have any questions? Hearing no opposition, hearing no questions, I'm going to consider the proposed changes to the bylaws as approved by the board and Katie, so they can be submitted to the county attorney's office. And unless the county attorney's office comes up with something, then we will have the new bylaws approved. That make sense? Everybody good with that?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll work with Dean on getting those forwarded to the county attorney's office.
Perfect. And then once you hear back from them, if you just let Dean know, we'll get them posted on the website, or changed on the website. However that works. Get the old ones off, get the new ones on. And like I said, there's not a whole lot of substantive changes, but there were enough changes to make it worthwhile doing, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
Just going to jump in. We didn't tell everybody to sign in the chat. So for attendance purposes, if everybody who is on the meeting could sign in the chat, just for our record, appreciate that.
So this is in addition to the listing of people who are in the meeting on the meeting button, right? You want us to actually sign in on the chat?
Yeah, it's just easier to capture it that way. Once we stop the meeting, the people on it kind of disappear.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Moving down, old business. There's nothing specific. I guess that may have been the bylaws. No, that was any old business, Dean, Ron? New business Code Red campaign. Do you want to talk about that?
I'll touch briefly on it. So we continue our Code Red campaign. That is to get more and more people subscribed on their cell phones to Code Red. We've had about a 51% increase in subscriptions since January, basically since the Marshall fire, over a 5-year period of time. So the one caveat on that is during that 5-year period of time when Code Red was first initiated back in 2016, there really haven't been that many people signed up for Code Red, and that's a common problem nationwide. It's not just Adams County, but the normal percentage is hovers around a 3 or 4% group. So we're trying to increase that number. Again, as I said, since January, we've had over a 51% increase. I haven't gotten the numbers for May yet, but we're working on that, continuing to push that out, continuing to get more and more people subscribed through community events and other events that my community preparedness program coordinator is pushing out, Kyle Lopez. So I know the other OEMs within Adams County are also doing the same. So Stephanie, Greg, Ryan, Kirk, everyone is pushing that out as well. So we hope to see a significant increase by year's end.
And I just stuck the link to sign up for Code Red in the chat if you want to copy that and share that.
Fantastic, thank you. The Chemical Safety Board video on there, I had Dean put a link in there. I don't know if you guys are aware of it or not, but the Chemical Safety Board is a federal program that the Chemical Safety Board, I think, is actually appointed by the president, if I'm not mistaken. And they are a investigative body. They are not a regulatory body. What they do is they go in after major chemical facility accidents. Usually there's serious bodily injury or death involved. But that summary that they come up with, they make a video and pretty high quality videos. I would recommend that anybody who has not touched base with the CSB website, that if you're in the chemical industry, that you do that, because it's lessons learned. And I realize that it may not be exactly the same as your facility, or it may not be the same products you're making, but 99% of the time, these things come down to somebody made a mistake. Some human made a mistake. And they have recommendations that come up as a result of that, either in training or equipment or preventative measures. But if you would, they're usually, what, Dean, 8, 10, 12 minutes, 15 minutes long, maybe.
Yep.
I would recommend, if you're in the chemical industry in the US, then you touch base with the CSB, and they have a whole library of accident report videos that are well worth looking at, in my opinion.
And I stuck a link for that in the chat as well.
Okay. The training being scheduled by BNSF. I don't have those dates. Dean, do you have any of that stuff? I had to put it on there, but I don't have the stuff to make any further than that.
No, I don't have dates from them yet. I just wanted to let people know I'm trying to get that going. And then there's another one from the ammonia industry that does a training as well that I thought would be beneficial for responders. And so neither of those are set yet. They're still kind of getting back to me. One got back to me, and then So she was at a conference and would follow up shortly.
Yeah, with the railroads, what they do is they look at the whole nation, and they'll decide they've got X number of dollars for X number of trainings, and then they kind of look at the whole nation and determine, we're going to do one in Seattle and one in Los Angeles and one in Albuquerque and one in Denver and one in Philadelphia and one in Boston and one in New York, sort of thing. So that is coming. The BNSF is primarily rail cars, and rail car safety hazmat related, and the chemical safety bar, the ammonia training is always worthwhile training. Again, it's primarily for first responders. And then the Cameo training is always good training. There's Cameo trainings available that are free of charge. Cameo is a free program. Cameo, they have modified it again, so now it's Cameo DBDS. I don't remember what the latest thing is, but it's now much easier to use, and it just gets better and better every year. I can't say enough about Cameo and the EPA, the Cameo suite, Aloha for plume modeling, Marplot for mapping, Cameo chemicals for chemical compatibility, and of course the rest of it is, like I said, as a suite. I'm missing one in there someplace, but
I think it's tier 2 submit.
Yeah, the tier 2 submit, so that you can do the chemical inventories. The mapping alone, the mapping program alone is worth its weight in gold as far as most of us are concerned. So if you know nothing about Cameo, again, I would recommend you do that. You look at it. If you just Google Cameo, it's going to come up on the EPA, and it's an acronym for Computer Assisted Management of Emergency Operations. So it's spelled out just like Cameo. But I would again recommend that you look at that. Any additional announcements from anybody in the group? Anybody have anything for the good of the group? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Anybody want to adjourn?
This is Katie. I move to adjourn.
Second? Not like I have to have one, but
I'll second.
okay.
I think I have a vote for that.
Well, if not, it doesn't matter because we're gonna stand adjourned, people. Thank you very much. Our next meeting, July 25. And I would say start thinking about considering in person again, depending on what's going on. There are advantages and disadvantages. There are certainly advantages to the remote. Makes it convenient for everybody, but there's also some, I don't know, there's some integrity lost in the meetings, I think, as far as participation is concerned. Start thinking about it. Let Dean know what you think, and we'll talk to you again in July. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
All right.
Thanks. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks,
Adios.
guys.